Hello guys and welcome to TFT World Cup Grand Finals, game number 1. Enjoy.
Up either to a GP line that can be very strong, or other rerolls like Mundo where it can also elevate it to the new heights.
Yeah, it looks like Qianlong and LPDC both have the gangplanks early on, and we'll see what they end up swapping to. As it is Zhonya's Hourglass for Qianlong, so potentially going to be looking towards the Yuumi or the Sorks line from here.
A lot of strong options for this one. If he gets enough Katarinas, that's also a terrific artifact onto that one. Another common user would be the Akali line, which both of these teams are actually quite familiar with the all-out sort of game plan.
You guys will hate me for this, but I think it can also be a replacement for Edge of Night on GP. To be honest, I am not even joking.
They're actually all GP artifacts.
If he has to be the GP player, but I think with a few Treasure Hunt players, there's definitely going to be a better option on Weibo Gaming.
The Zac Master Sao Pimi doesn't get the protagonist, but still going to have the big blob on board to try and go for an early win streak.
He's just Zac himself, you know? Zac incarnate right here for Weibo Gaming. And he's pretty much locked into the AP Fast 8 line, so that's what we're going to be maneuvering right here. There's going to be 2 Treasure Hunt players, so you already know who the rerollers are going to be locked in for the side of
pushing
GP.
to 5.
Level to 5 on to 2. This is something you don't see very often in TFT, but when you know how much econ will be thrown into the game off of the Crab Brave, you know you're going to have a rejuice on Krugs. HP matters a lot more. It's not about just having maximum gold and trying to rush to 50 to get the most gold possible and get those econ thresholds. Instead, it's about preserving HP, and you do so by leveling here. But he's facing off against a 2.5 item Mundo, which will be tanking for a very long time, it looks like.
Yeah, actually able to just kind of out-tank this 2-star Zac with the items, and now there's just not really enough damage to get through the rest of this Mundo as it continues to regen. So pumped to 5 and then still unable to win. Maris gonna hold on to the streak instead. And you know, it was Hupei talking about the tempo that Weibo likes to play with. This was a great example of Sao Pimi trying to execute that strategy, but this time Virtus Pro able to kind of win out.
I think a key thing here for Weibo Gaming is who is going to go hug the Treasure Hunt player. In all the matches we've seen so far, you cannot let the Treasure Hunt play solo. It's just too much value, so someone has to be designated. The problem here is that Mars is actually going in the reroll line as well, so there might just be too many heads on the Hydra.
And the problem is there's 3 Treasure Hunt players, so one of them will be unmarked, potentially, when it comes to playing one of those reroll lines. We'll see on Stage 3 how each player commits with their itemization and what of the key 2 costs are designated for each team.
I will say, sometimes we've seen that Treasure Hunt contest completely backfire because the Treasure Hunt player is getting so many extra resources that you end up being maybe the 2-star GP versus the 3-star GP and losing the game off that. So I agree, you can't just leave it uncontested, but they have to watch and maybe leave an avenue to bail if necessary.
Imagine if it's like one of the non-Treasure Hunt players going for GP, then suddenly it's just like, oh, there's so much stuff that you can't shut down, and that flips the matchup completely. Then everyone is going for the max cap rather than trying to hold each other down.
Stage 2 carousel right away. Bows are in top priority for both teams. Only one bow is here, and Kian will get the first pick for Virtus Pro. MCC1 says, oh yeah, we're on the same team. You can have it. And we'll see what ends up happening with the reroll commits. We're seeing the boards on the bottom, so already some clear ideas. Kian will most likely be that Treasure Hunt GP player with the possibility of slamming either Rageblade or Kraken's Fury.
And then notably, their other Treasure Hunt Milo does have Katarina early for this setup. Doesn't have to stay Katarina, but when I look at the items and I look at just the board right now, I feel like that will be what Milo wants to go for.
Kian full opening for the bow right here. Just wants to lock into the Guinsoo's Rageblade on his side. And there are 2 Mundos in the shop. Potentially a good denial angle for him.
There is kind of a shared item component stance between GP reroll and Mundo Jin, but I'm not sure if 2 Mundos there is enough to have him pivot. And if someone else from BP has a good enough spot to kind of take the mantle when it comes to GP, it can't be uncontested, of course.
So we'll see what happens here as we go to NCC1, also on the 3-loss streak, runs into Sao Pimi, but he does have the Crystal Gambit in now from 2-5. Could actually look to go in that direction. We saw Aegis being able to use that to great effect over their entire tournament run. I don't know that we've had a VP Crystal Gambit game just yet, though, but I don't think they would shy away from it.
VP actually lost one of their series in this tournament to Aegis off of Lires getting into Crystal Gambit and winning the game with 7 Crystal Gambit in the 3rd game of their series. So maybe taking a page from their opponent's book, saying, yeah, you know what, that's a pretty good idea. Let's try and play for that high roll as well.
We know it's going to be reroll heavy, so champions like the Set, the Ashe, they're going to be completely open. I think that makes the Crystal Gambit line just that much stronger. And now Maris with the 4 win streak, Guan falling down as well.
Yeah, Maris also looking at this Jin Mundo, so it makes sense. Those Mundos definitely wanting to leave them in the shop for Kian. And that means we have 3 2-cost rerollers for the side of Virtus Pro. And then outside of that, it's just going to be the 1 Crystal Gambit consideration at the very least. Maybe it's just the single cash out.
Insane spot. Replication belt, fantastic for Mundo. He wants a lot of belt items, and the 3-item Mundo 1. It's not an upgrade on the Mundo, it's just on the Jin. But all in all, a 5 win streak secured here. The team play in the last fight, so both players getting what they want. The Crystal Gambit player will be losing, getting more stacks, and we'll have Mars with a commanding lead coming to stage 3. 1 Mundo away from maybe making this one of these crazy 10 win streak angles in stage 2 and 3.
Nice positioning there as well to give NCDC just one kill. It's really all that you could do with that comp, but they did position precisely to make that happen while still covering for the other matchups.
And this is a pivotal round here because Salpimi, all the rest of his teammates are kind of dedicated to their roles. Can Salpimi match the GP? Does he have the spot to actually do it? Is kind of the question going into this one. As we've said, any GP that has GP3 versus GP2, that former team has gone on to win the series.
Saw from Tianlong there, a very interesting setup. He had the Viego with the Zhonya's with stretchy arms. I wonder if he's considering a Viego reroll. I think there is a Katarina on his bench. Not sure if he's just contesting. I believe it was Milo from VP that was playing for Katarina, or just opting to play for that Zhonya's Katarina himself.
Yeah, hugging the opponent team, incredibly important here. So there's actually 5 Katarinas being held on the side of Weibo Gaming, and this could be an interesting thing if they're faked out sometime down the line.
Yes, Alpimi choosing to make the Swain 2, of course, just incredibly strong unit. However, is still looking to lose with the Crystal Gambit for now. Hasn't hit the point where he does have to decide on the double down, so it's fine if he does accidentally kind of win a round over the next few here.
The Viego hold here, maybe, yeah, some shenanigans happening with the rerolls and what units you're holding. The indication that it could be a Viego Zhonya's game. We haven't seen all tournament long outside of Bintum with that pocket recombobulator game that he didn't really plan for, let's be honest. We did see a Swain 2 upgrade for the Crystal Gambit player for Salpimi. Curious to see if he can play Tempo Crystal Gambit and then look at an option to double down later in the game. It's a rare position to be in, but a Swain 2 could be one of those pivotal moments to try and go for it. We're seeing here the loss now from Maris, so the win streak, the 10 win streak I talked about was it's no longer the case, but look at this Viego, could be scary.
Yeah, but also did you see, I believe that was Kian, perfect items for the Gangplank already with the 2-star going in on 3-1.
And he is one of our treasure hunt players as well. So it looks like a very clear lobby leader being shown for stage 3 here. And Salpimi now
Golden Quest on Crabbrave, it's a consideration, and it is going to be a pickup, and you are playing Crystal Gambit with a strong enough board to not bleed so much HP, maybe win a fight or 2 here and there. I love this spot from Salpimi, the protagonist in the series against Aegis for different reasons, but very interesting position here.
That is a huge win-out angle. Golden Quest can certainly get you there, and Salpimi already starting this out with 60 gold at this point. Might even be able to pump to try and defend a little bit more HP if he wants. He doesn't have to just hold out from here until the quest is completed.
There are some high rolls and low rolls concerning a Golden Quest, though. If you get a Braum, you get a Gwen, you're super happy. If you get a Yone or you get a Seraphine, then suddenly your game plan is in a very precarious situation. So I don't know. I feel like in 4v4, this is actually one of those augments that can backfire pretty hard. You want to play around your 5 cost that has the artifact, but you're not allowed to sometimes.
Game 1 of a best of 5, you see a bunch of your opponents having these amazing reroll spots already hitting a lot of what they need. I think this is perfect. You might be down to just flip it on this augment and say, you know what? If I hit, I go first. If I don't, that's okay. We go next game.
If there's any game to go for it, it's this one. You have Crystal Gambit, you're not committed to any comp, you haven't slammed any items, you're flexible around what you can hit, you have Crabbrave to give you econ support, despite having Ionic Spark as your first augment on 2-1, which is not necessarily, you know, the crazy hedge fund angle into Golden Quest that we've seen. from some streamers when they are trying to create some content online. And already from Guan, All Out has been found, Cassante has been found, and the itemization is perfect. This is the AD Flex Whisperer from Weibo Gaming, and he's done it again.
They have the most all-out games played, and we have seen this be such a strong Sork counter. You take away the Karmas from the enemy team, you're taking away the Jarvans from the pool as well, and you know, this is a great counter to what VP likes to do. VP's best composition has been the Sork win out.
The big thing I want to call out here as well is the new contenders that he's picked up. This allows any champion to become the Supreme Cell on your team, which means All-Out Cassante gets to become the Supreme Cell once you get that online. I think this has to be one of the better augments for this composition to really get that All-Out Cassante going, well, all out.
Uh-oh, Spatula available for Salpimi, who has Crystal Gambit online now. Of course, we don't know if he's going to get a Zyra or not from his Golden Quest, but imagine if he gets a Zyra, if he finds a belt, if he can play for 7 Crystal Gambit with a Zyra 2, that would be an insane start in this series.
Well, and Salpimi has been our protagonist twice in 2 games. Of course, that is just getting the perfect form, but this might be his real perfect form, is getting the 7 Crystal Gambit online.
Even if he doesn't find a Zyra, I think Crystal Gambit has enough trait trees that you can fit a lot of the 5 costs online with, you know, Braum, Sorcerer, with Swain, with the Duelist, with, actually no 5 cost Duelist, but overall you can fit everything.
Similar.
Exactly, yeah.
And the fact is playing for this much economy, he's going to be able to push levels, and he might just stabilize around the 5 cost to the point where he can get a Zyra later. It doesn't have to be right off of the cash out.
Early Karma as well. Pretty just insane things that are happening here on the board. On level 5.
Yeah, and you can see that he can still just grief everyone. He's not going to win any of these fights and then sell them. So everyone is actually incentivized to roll a little bit later in this lobby. You want to see Salpimi just clear out his bench for the Golden Quest before you go for those deep rolls. Mars did hit an early Jinx, but did sell it. And, you know, this is one of those good Jin Mundo spots where you have the entire stage 3 to yourself. Tianlong now the only composition where we're not 100% certain where this one will go. He's holding on to a Viego pair, but as we've mentioned, hasn't been played this entire time.
Yeah, this could go towards Prodigies. I think Yuumi is looking like the most obvious one. I think when I see these Ezreals on the bench, I see the itemization is really good for the Malzahar to take the Void Staff, and then from there, nearly perfect items for the Yuumi. I think the Zhonya's has looked really good on that unit.
We've seen today, even actually, in one of the earlier series, that Zhonya's was insane on Yuumi, buying her time against Akali, for example, buying her time against the Karma burst damage. Horizon Focus also found for LBTZ, which is an insane combination with Unstoppable. He hasn't found it there. He's juggling his power-ups to try and find it, potentially going to wait till stage 4 to remove some of the gold-generating ones. But all in all, some pretty crazy spots available for most of the players in this game 1.
We were talking about unmirrored 2-cost rerolls, and Mars is specifically on that line. There's no one holding him down. They have to focus on Milo with the treasure hunt. They have to focus on GP. So he's been able to sneak away and just ride the wave of everyone taking the 2 costs down. He should have a very strong stage 4, stage 5.
All right, well, we do need to call out this 9-loss streak for NCC1. Wondering when he'll be able to actually turn that around. We did see that he was the other Crystal Gambit player, if I remember correctly. I'll have to see if he gets a big cash out. I think this must be a double down.
And for VP, NCC1 has very often been this 8 to 10 lose streak player coming into stage 4 with a gamble roll down. We'll see if it works out. He has, of course, a lot of gold to work with. He's above 50 gold. He's already rolling because he knows he can get ahead of the rest of the lobby. And he knows he'll get a gold injection of around 20 gold on PvE. So found an early Gwen, is looking for Karmas in particular, will be playing towards the Sork line most likely, although has Cassante 2 already as well with a Sork emblem. Very interesting setup here, replacing the Kennen.
Yeah, but finding the crucial Sorks of getting the Karma and the Gwen online, not finding the Jarvan. So this roll wasn't insane, but found some frontline stability and a Gwen and a Karma to stabilize.
He was able to stay on 35 gold as well. So he's actually very healthy to keep on rolling. And what I'm thinking is very interesting is he's going to try to break Gwen's streak. Gwen currently on a 9-win streak. If he's holding 4 of these Cassantes here, the all-out player is going to feel very pressured.
Seraphine found for Tianlong, but doesn't find any of Yuumi's on this roll down. He's wasted all of his gold already, and he just got the rejuice from this Wolves PB round. playing for the Karma for now, so a mixed comp there with the Sorcerer and the Prodigy.
Milo on the Katarina takes a bunch of the cats out of the pool, getting rid of those Yumis.
And there was so much denial coming in from Weibo Gaming. We saw at least 3 players holding Katarinas, still able to hit on time 4-1, very far ahead of tempo. This is going to shift stage 4 massively.
2 times today, a player tried playing Katarina. 2 times today, that player failed to 3-star the Katarina because it was target grief by the opposing team. So heads up roll down from Milo, able to get a little bit lucky with the extra rejuice and hit one of his big power spikes early.
Lost to a 3-star GP, though, that I believe was LBTZ. I thought Kian would be the most likely one to have one at this point, but no, it is the side of Weibo that is able to get the 3-star.
Now the question for Gwen is, can he actually get that Cassante 2 online? There's been a lot of Cassantes already taken out the pool. We've just saw 4 of them from NCC1 using it as their own frontline, maybe as a pivot into the Volley Bear.
And really interesting with the extra gold injection you're getting, opting to maybe go for a Darius 3 as well as a way to get a bit of a higher cap on this all-out Cassante comp. Very interesting setup here from Guan. Eyes on Salpimi as well and his golden quest. He's at 150 gold now. I assume he will be selling next turn at around 40-ish HP, and then we'll see what he ends up hitting and what his game plan will look like.
Pretty sure everything outside of Yone and Seraphine are pretty acceptable for that spot he's going into. We're found out next round. And as we were talking about, whoever wins the GP3 race uncontested does eventually end up winning the game. A big reason is once you hit, you can actually command all of your teammates continuing to hold the GPs and make it even harder for the opposing team.
Yeah, LPDZ gonna drop the items off of this gangplank to try and let Salpimi get a couple of unit kills, but not super successful here. Salpimi is going to take that one final hit before this cash out comes through.
Usually you sell your board for Golden Quest, but he has such a great units already. He doesn't really want to sell most of it. He sells the Kabukos here. We're going to see at Lee Sin 2, which is not a great fit for this Sorcerer line he was trying to play for. Of course, the high roll would have been a Gwen 2, but we'll see how he can fit it, if he wants to fit this at all.
It's flexible enough. It can just be a Juggernaut, maybe put in at 2 Jug. Just try and anchor this board.
Going for Executioner for now, just to get the extra stun on board. It's pretty much the only one that fits really with the Rise that he should be putting in later.
No Rise yet. We'll add in the Udyr instead, and sitting now on 40 gold. We'll see if this is going to be strong enough to try and win some of the fights, considering he has been free-falling to that Golden Quest.
Just trying to be stable around the front line from the Swain and the Lee Sin. Having the Shadow Clone set up for the Karma. Pretty good items for her as well. Runs into Kian, but he's not the one who's been able to 3-star the Gangplank. And while it's a close fight and a lot of gold for Kian, not able to get there.
Kian is pretty close, all things considered. He's 7 copies on the GP, so I do expect him to be able to equalize, but these couple of rounds will hurt.
The 5 costs on the Carousel, Twisted Fate, and Yone, so nothing to really spike any of these boards. But this is a relatively early Twisted Fate for anyone who can fit it.
The Mundo could be big for Maris. Not denied at all, actually. So getting a little bit closer to that 3-star because of the Cloak. Tianlong maybe not aware of the mission he must have had in terms of denying that Mundo. Maybe the Cloak not really all that relevant for him. But we'll see now the HP total as we move out of this Carousel. We'll get a better understanding of what these teams have to do going forward. Who is going to be that win-out player as well. LBTZ as a GP player looks very, very strong for Weibo Gaming. Salpimi did not high roll and insta-win the game, but Karma 2 is so important here to try and now go level 9.
The Karma race was going to be the most pivotal because NCC1 is down on 1 life. 13 HP. If he loses by 5, he's out. And he was sitting on a Karma 1.
Mundo off the Carousel does let Maris hit. Will just be a question of, is this comp strong enough, especially when the resources are so high. It feels like this has been one of the first comps to fall off a cliff.
Last cannon for NCC1, which means that he's going to have a bit of a lower health Karma, which can get bursted down by the Katarina or the Yuumi here. And this board is maybe not looking strong enough for NCC1. He's on 13 HP. That could be it if he takes a big enough loss. There's a lot of kills left alive. The Karma has to kill a few more units.
That's a big hit. And he's
it's
out.
A knockout. 8th place for NCC1.
Oh, that was a little bit unfortunate. I felt like maybe VP should have sacked a little bit for him, but they cut him loose instead. Nothing removed. It was just a full kill coming in from a teammate in Milo.
But even here for the GP player, for Kian, he's only on 6 copies. You mentioned it, Clement, the player that loses that GP race to a 3-star is going to be in a terrible position. So all in all, Weibo Gaming looking like the stronger team coming into this game 1 as we move into stage 5.
Yeah, especially looking at this HP differential. Guan, LBTZ, 80 and 70 respectively. When you look at the rest of the totals on VP, they can barely make up the same amount as Guan has himself. They've already lost NCC1, so it's going to be a very tough road, especially because they didn't get the gangplank. They didn't get the hits that they needed. And Salpimi, the lowest member of Weibo Gaming, has maybe the strongest board in the entire game.
Going in with that, Lee Sin 2 is going to have the solo Sork spot to himself, so we do expect him to shoot up on the ladder in terms of the HP remaining. And we also have a Prodigy trying to play interference against Milo's board on the Katarina.
Maris takes a hit, Milo's on 12 HP, Kian's on 22 and on a 3 loss streak as well. The HP totals, if you're adding up the team totals, they're heavily favoring Weibo Gaming right now. The lowest HP player in Salpimi, he hit his power spike with a Golden Quest cash out and the fact he has a Karma 2 to go 9 now. So it is lopsidedly in favor of Weibo Gaming. Even if they find a win-out player that becomes the strongest player in the lobby, they have to fight against so much HP totals that there are there from Weibo.
They don't even really have the opportunity to look for that win-out player, though, because this Jin Mundo is not really a comp that's going to get there, especially not on something like the Crab Rave. We know that Milo is on the Katarina, which can get there, but it's usually the turbo scaling Katarinas that can, and I don't believe we have that for Milo. And Kian does not have the Gangplank 3.
Yeah, this is LBTZ's board right here. He had great hits on the artifact, pretty much perfect finds. And I just think this is why All Out has been such a favorite composition by Weibo Gaming. We saw Guan stabilize entirety of stage 3 on just that one Cassante. He heals for 600 HP. If you don't have that wound, you're just not going to kill him.
It was obviously very fortunate. Early Cassante, perfect all-out hit without tailoring, perfect items on the Cassante as well, which allowed you to really take over stage 3. And most of stage 4, I mean, he's still sitting at above or around 70 HP right now. We're seeing the fight here. It just looks so powerful, but now it is going to be Milo who's on his last life, fighting tooth and nail to stay alive in this game 1.
Yeah, there's going to be some team damage here from Kian versus Maris, and I think I saw a flash of Salpimi's board. I think there might be a 3-star Swain there.
That's pretty crazy for a Sork board to get 3-star Swain, 2-star Lee Sin on board here. He's swimming in so much gold. Yeah, Salpimi's not going down, so it really is like onto, I think, Milo and then Kian to hit on the 3-star GP. That's pretty much the only version of our universe that they're going to come out ahead.
And what went wrong here for VP? I mean, what could they have done differently in those first 2 or 3 stages to not be in this position? That's the big question, I have to imagine. The game from Salpimi was insane. I think the setup with the early Swain 2, the Crystal Gambit, into not losing too much HP, to having the comfortable cash out without even selling your board for Golden Quest, using it on Crab Rave especially, the perfect synergy between Encounter and Augment.
I think it's just NCC1 just playing too low tempo. We have seen this from their previous series. There was 2 games where he was starting out 7 and 8, did manage to bounce back on the Sorks, but we've kind of seen that over and over again in this tournament. That has been the main story. They want to roll down first and get lucky, but it doesn't happen every game.
And I guess the sample size of 5 games, I think over the course of the tournament sample size, it's worked out for them more than not for NCC1 playing this style. So 1 game in the books, yeah, it's not going to work out every time. That's why they've lost a couple of games throughout the entire tournament, and VP should still be able to bounce back, but that is at least 1 3-star being found for Kian, and just 2 copies of Gangplank away.
A power spike, but is it the power spike? Is it enough? You're still missing the GP3, and look at the HP totals. On the chopping block right now, it's a complete bottom 4 for VP to start things off. Milo is with the 1 saving grace with this Katarina that he found early in stage 4 that's been fairly stable. We'll see. I mean, it's a team matchup here against Maris. Kian is a real player we have to watch out for. If he goes down here, it's going to be almost impossible with how strong Salpimi looks for Weibo Gaming.
Oh, and he faces the GP3 early. The GP mirror has been the decider in all of our games today, and it looks like it is going to go in the way of Weibo.
It's, I think, an impossible comeback at this point in time. Both players from VP are on their last life. They cannot trade any more HP the next time they face each other. There's too big of an HP buffer from Weibo Gaming. I think it is mathematically impossible at this point in time, or 99% so, in terms of how matchmaking will work in TFT. So, as you mentioned, Clement, I think NCC1 too low tempo, couldn't find any key upgrades to preserve HP in stage 2 and 3. The roll down was not ideal for the Sork board as well. He really just was not able to stabilize in time in stage 4.
Yeah, and this is something that we have seen from a lot of different games over and over again. It's like when you have a pattern, the enemy team will pick up on it. They will try to abuse it. They will try to find ways to play around it. And I think Weibo Gaming did a great job here. They were holding on to all of the treasure hunts, making sure they weren't running away. They had a Prodigy player for a while just to make sure the Katarina didn't go too far. Even though Milo was able to hit, the rest of the team fell behind. And like I said again, I actually think the Jim Muto line is oftentimes a trap. It just doesn't cap high enough unless you're going for the 4-5 costs.
It really only works out as being the bruiser for your team, right? It's like you deal a lot of damage, you hold a lot of health if you can hit the Mundo early, especially stable on Mundo 2. But I agree with you, it completely falls off, and I think when on a high resource portal like the Crab Rave, you end up in this spot where this comp is just not good enough, and instead, you know, we have this all-out K'Sante for Guan that he was able to play that bruiser role, and I think still probably scale a little better.
Maris looks like he's winning this fight, staying alive, but Milo
goes
is
down.
3 players from Virtus Pro have been taken down in the bottom 4. A dominant Game 1 win for Weibo Gaming to start this Grand Finals off. They pick up exactly where they left off against Aegis.
Complete blowout for Weibo. It's something that we saw VP do against a bunch of other people in the past, but I heckin' love TFT too, and I'm glad that we're going to get a lot more of it with this best of 5.
No Crab Rave even